The story that will be discussed in this video happened several years ago in 2017. It did not leave the screens in the USA for a long time, but knowing it from beginning to end, this does not seem surprising. The story begins with a woman named Valerie McDaniel. She was born in 1969 and was the only child in the family, and her parents have nothing special to say. It was a classic family of the American intelligentsia. Mother Valerie was a doctor, and her father was a professor at a local college. Valerie never caused problems to her parents. On the contrary, she was their pride. It was very important to them that their daughter received a good education, and Valerie did not let them down. Every school year, she graduated as the best student in the class. The girl's parents, in turn, tried to encourage her successes, fulfilling every wish of the daughter. By the way, there were not so many of them. Basically, they boiled down to the fact that the girl asked her parents to take another pet from the shelter. It is difficult to say whether the girl tried to brighten up her loneliness at the expense of this, but one way or another, by the age of 16, her house turned into a real menagerie. In 1987, Valerie graduated from school, and given her love for animals, it is not difficult to guess that she went to study to become a veterinarian. The girl's personal life was also developing quite successfully. Since school, she knew a guy named Mac McDaniel, and when they graduated, they got married. Valerie's parents gave the young man a good start to their family life. Now the house stands again. Remembering Valerie's love for animals after graduation, she opened a veterinary clinic where she was not just the owner, she was the chief physician of this clinic. Her husband, Mac, took over all management issues. Work took up a huge amount of time for each of them. They began to spend less time together, perhaps slowly moving away from each other. But only they felt this. Others still considered them an ideal couple. However, soon a problem arose in their relationship, faced with which not every couple is able to save their marriage. To their great regret, it turned out that Valerie could not have children. This was a real blow for her, because both she and Mac madly wanted a child. But by the time they were ready to conceive, they were forced to face the harsh reality. They did not give up, and in 2008 they adopted a girl who at that time was only 2 days old. It seemed that this should tie their marriage with new threads, but this was not so. In the end, a year later, Valerie found out that Mac was cheating on her. This led to a huge quarrel between them, but Mac managed to persuade his wife to give him another chance, and in the end, at this stage, they did not get divorced. Unfortunately for Valerie, she was soon deceived again by her husband. It seemed that this time there was no other choice but to leave him, but at the same time, she understood that the breakup would be a big blow for their daughter, so she was forced to forgive her husband again. However, this time everything was different. They hardly spoke to each other. Their relationship became very prickly. Quarrels in their house became commonplace. Even despite Valerie's efforts to save the marriage for the sake of her daughter, it was obvious that this could not continue for long. In 2016, Valerie Mac finally divorced. A new man in her life, Leon Jacob, played a key role in this step for Valerie. Leon was the son of the McDaniel family's neighbors. However, despite the fact that Valerie knew his mother well, she met Leon only in 2016. By this time, she was 47 years old. Leon was 8 years younger than her. He also had unsuccessful relationships in the past, divorce, and 2 children. He, like Valerie, was a doctor, a cardiologist. The couple very quickly developed a relationship, and Valerie, having Leon's support, still filed for divorce. The main result of the divorce for her was that the court allowed the daughter to live with her. Valeria's ex-husband could see the girl several times a week. It was hardly possible to say that this suited him. He was clearly not thrilled with Leon, and certainly was not thrilled that Leon lived under the same roof with his ex-wife and his daughter. However, now these were his problems, as was already said above. Valeria and Leon began to live together. The woman's friends and relatives celebrated her transformation. After several years of swearing, quarrels, and humiliation, she again found a man with whom she was happy. Now we are transported to March 10th, 2017.
Your boyfriend, is he awake?
I'm not gonna let him know what's going on. I'm sorry. Might have been a robbery going on. If anybody knows anything,
No,
I'll be able to help us.
are you okay, baby? You've been here all night. You were here all day with their daughter when we were watching movies.
On this day, the police came to Valera's house to inform her that her ex-husband, Mac, was found dead. Of course, as often happens in such cases, the first suspects are the partners of the deceased. However, it was impossible to believe that Valerie was capable of such a thing, and there was no point in doubting it, because at the time of Mac's death, Valerie and Leon had cast-iron alibis. The police named an attempted car theft as the most likely cause of death. However, the murder of Mac McDaniel is only the tip of the iceberg in this story. In order to unravel the whole tangle of events that took place, we need to take a closer look at the past of Leon Jacob. As was said above, he was married to a woman he met in college. They had 2 children, but after 12 years of marriage, his wife filed for divorce. The reason for the divorce was that in the last years of marriage, the woman felt that her husband was suppressing her. He could often use force in their quarrels, and at some point she decided that she was no longer ready to tolerate it. However, after the divorce, Leon did not leave his ex-wife alone. He continued to stalk her, insulted her on the internet, and even openly threatened her by phone.
And I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna hurt your parents right in front of you. Do you understand me?
Ultimately, he went so far that his ex-wife contacted the police. Then he did not receive a serious punishment, but in order not to aggravate the situation, he moved to another city, Pittsburgh, where he met another character in this story. In 2016, Leon Jacob met a woman named Megan Veracas. They began a relationship, and soon they began to live together. Then they moved from Pittsburgh to Houston, where Leon was training in residency and everything would be fine. But this was already the 5th place where he tried to get a medical license. In previous hospitals where he was trained, they noted his arrogance and excessively high opinion of himself. He considered himself the best student. He could show disrespect towards mentors. And most importantly, he often chose unreasonably risky medications for patients, sometimes even putting the lives of patients at risk. From this, you need to understand that despite the fact that Leon by the age of 38 was never able to complete residency anywhere, he had a very high opinion of himself. Now let's return to his relationship with Megan. For some time, Leon and Megan really seemed like a happy couple, but not for long. In January 2017, the police were called to their home. The call was related to the fact that during an argument, Leon hit Megan in the face. It should be noted that by this time, Leon was already in a relationship with Valerie. However, for some reason, he still continued to stalk and threaten Megan, who broke off relations with him. This led to the girl filing charges against Leon. This turn of events clearly added to his problems, because now he was facing a prison sentence. Of course, with a high degree of probability, it would be suspended. But even if so, with a criminal record, he could forget about a career as a doctor, or he chose a very radical method of solving this problem. He contacted a guy named Zach and offered him $9,000 for the murder of Megan. Zach took the money and disappeared. To find him, Leon had to turn to their mutual friend, who was the guarantor for both Leon and Zach. Leon, having contacted Zach again, found out that the guy hired another man, a man named Javier, to kill Megan. Then Leon asked the guy an unexpected question. Will Javier be able to settle both problems?
What both problems?
Both of the individuals that we're talking about.
It is not difficult to guess that the second problem was the husband. Valerie Poppy. To avoid confusion over names, let's once again clarify the main roles of the characters. For various reasons, Valerie and Leon wanted their ex-husband Mac and ex-wife Megan dead. Leon hired a man named Zach, who delegated the job to Javier. On March 5th, for people, Valerie, Leon, Zach, and Javier met at a local restaurant. They discussed the details of the murder of Valerie's ex-husband Mac and Lyon's ex-girlfriend Megan. Regarding Megan, he either needed to get her to drop the charges against him or wanted her to be killed. Leon asked Javier to kidnap Megan first, to intimidate her, and if that didn't work, then kill her. Everything was clear with Megan. Then the conversation turned to the second planned victim, Valerie's ex-husband Mac McDaniel. Valerie's primary motive was that Mac was trying by any means necessary to regain primary custody of their daughter. Valerie told Javier everything she knew about Mac, where he lived, what car he drove, what time he was out of the house, in general, all the information the killer needed about him. Mac's life was valued at $10,000, and now it was only a matter of time. Next, we return to March 10th, 2017. As we already know, on this day, the police came to Valerie's house to tell her that she already knew about the death of her ex-husband. Well, Valerie's problem was solved. As for Leon, on the same day, he received a photo of the kidnapped Megan from Javier. Now the main thing for Valerie and Leon was to let in, use all their acting skills to portray surprise in front of the police. It seemed that everything went perfectly for this couple, if not for one thing. But the killer they hired, Javier, was a police officer, undercover. So, at what point did everything go wrong? Once again, going back, we can remember the moment in which Zach, originally hired by Leon, disappeared, and in order to find him, Leon turned to a mutual friend of theirs with Zach. Apparently, Leon trusted him so much that he told the truth about why he was looking for Zach. Having learned about the planned murder, Leon's friend passed this information on to the police. Now, not only Leon, but also the police were busy searching for Zach. It took the police a couple of days to find him. While at the station, Zach said that he didn't even intend to kill anyone. His goal was to deceive Leon, get money from him, and disappear with it. To obtain more convincing evidence, the police needed the help of a guy according to the scenario. Zach was supposed to tell Leon that he entrusted the work to his friend Javier. As we already know, Javier was an undercover police officer. He was supposed to record the conversations between him and Valerie and Leon, so that in court no one would have the slightest doubt about the guilt of Valerie and Leon. Now, it is already obvious that the photos of the kidnapped Megan and the murdered Mac were fake. In fact, the police took care of their safety. Moreover, at the time of Valerie's arrest, it was Mac who was the person to whom her daughter was handed over. There is no doubt that his discovery that he was alive was a real shock to Valerie.
Right now, we're going to read you your rights. Me? Both of you have been arrested for solicitation of capital murder.
On March 13, 2017, the choice of a preventive measure for the arrested couple was considered. Since Leon had previously been charged with a crime, namely stalking Megan, he was denied bail. Valerie, before this, had an impeccable reputation and many positive characteristics, so the court agreed to release her on bail of $50,000. Her friends still considered her a wonderful person and supported her in every possible way. She kept her experiences to herself. She shared them only with an electronic diary. 20.
Okay, March 25th. It's been a few days. I hope I don't repeat myself. Zach told me later that he was going to try to help me, that he would try to get Mac to leave me alone. And at the same time, he was working to try to get Megan to go back to Pittsburgh. It's weird, it wasn't like bam, bam, bam progression. Things just gradually happened. There was talk all the time about this, and it just normalized things. It's so strange. It's hard to explain, but talking about somebody trying to quiet Mac and make him leave me alone just became like, oh, okay, that's normal. In retrospect, not so normal. And it just progressed. It's terrible. And the one thing I hope people know, and I hope comes out, is that at one point when I was talking to the officer, I said, can't you just talk to him and make him be nice to me? And he cut me off real quickly and said, no. He wasn't going to give me a chance to go to back down. So I would have, if he'd said that. I really would. I didn't want to hurt Mac. I never did. So sorry about everything. I don't want to hurt anyone. Just me. Okay. Thank you for listening.
On March 7, 2017, Valerie McDaniel was found dead near her home. The speech you heard above was her last entry in the diary. Her ruined reputation, ruined career, the inability to see her daughter anymore, or all this in the compartment, or something especially strongly gnawed at her from the inside. The only way she saw for herself was to commit suicide, which she did by jumping out of the window of an apartment on the 6th floor. The speech she heard was probably something like her farewell, her suicide note. Reading interviews with friends of this woman, it is really difficult to believe in her independent decision to kill her ex-husband. For some reason, it seems that if Valerie had not met Leon, such a thought would never have come. She thought that one way or another, everyone is responsible for their own actions. Perhaps death for Valerie was a lesser punishment than the inability to see her daughter.
And I asked her, are you sure you want to do this? And she said, I have no other choice. He's going to take my baby from me. She was worried about him taking full custody of the girl.
I'm just really so sorry that this happened, and it's really made me sad. I think she was a kind and compassionate person, and that's how I knew her. She was just excellent care of all the animals, and just a kind person.
Valerie hired me straight out of vet school in '01. So she really taught me a lot. And she's not only a mentor, but a great friend of mine. And she was always willing to help me do whatever I needed to continue to follow my passion, which is veterinary medicine.
As for Leon, his defense tried to place maximum blame for the planned deaths on Valerie. The defense stated that Leon himself did not plan to kill anyone, and even said that he thought that he was simply hiring a private detective for surveillance. However, both witness testimony and recordings of their conversations left no doubt.
He's always been on the track of actually killing Megan if it doesn't go his way.
Did he ever actually physically say, I want her dead?
Yes, he actually even proposed a way to kill her, potassium chloride to the heart. It was untraceable based on his words.
In 2018, Leon Jacob was sentenced to 2 life sentences. It is interesting to note that already in prison, he said that he considers Bradley Cooper to be incredibly similar to him, and that if a film is ever made based on this story, He would like Cooper to play him in this picture.
Okay, it's the order of the court then, Mr. Jacob, that you having been found guilty of 2 cases of solicitation of capital murder, be now delivered by the Sheriff of Harris County to the Director of the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, where on both cases you shall serve a life sentence. Thank you.
You convinced me to leave my life I had in Pittsburgh, and you convinced me it was awful. You manipulated me to leave my family and the life I had. I believe everything happens for a reason. While you sit in jail, I hope you think of me, the girl that you called poor and uneducated, because it's because of me you will be in prison for life. You will never see your children grow up. You will not be a part of their lives, and they will be better for it. I think some part of me always knew that you would try to hurt me, and that you were always lying.